dear friends. So today we, group number 13, are going to present on perception of people with regards to same-sex marriage in India. Our project is performed under the guidance of Mushira ma'am. Our group member consists of Shivansh, Mayana, Lavanya, Aryan, Zishan and Devansh. What is same-sex marriage? Same-sex marriage, the practice of marriage between two men or between two women, could also be said that it is marriage of two people of the same sex or same gender entered into a civil or religious ceremony, widely referred as homosexual marriage. On 6 September 2018, the Supreme Court issued its verdict. The court unanimously ruled the Section 377 is unconstitutional as it infringed on the fundamental rights of autonomy, intimacy, and identity, thus legalizing homosexuality in India. In September 2021, the Chennai-based Madras High Court, which has jurisdiction over Tamil Nadu, ruled that queerphobia was rampant in the medical education and directed the medical institutions and police to revamp their services to support LGBTQ individuals. Passing on to Devansh.
Objective of the study. The first aim of study is to determine the perception of people with regards to same-sex marriage in India. The second aim is to determine how much people are aware about this concept and various issues related to the same-sex marriage in India. By including people campaign in last phase of the project, we will raise general public awareness on this social issue prevailing in our country. Methodology. We use survey method for this study, that is concentrating on human resource surveys. Survey methodology uses the sampling of units from a population associated techniques of survey data collection such as questionnaire construction and methods for improving number of accuracy for responses to surveys, and survey methodology instruments or procedures that ask one or more questions that may or may not be answered. Methodology includes analysis and graphical representation of survey. Is same-sex marriage legal in India? Homosexuality is legalized in India. However, same-sex marriages are not. Same-sex marriages are not legally recognized in India, nor are same-sex couples offered limited rights such as civil union or domestic partnership. These are various bills. There are various bills for people belonging to LGBTQ community, but still the bills regarding same-sex marriages are pending in courts. Criticism. Same-sex relationships are considered grossly immoral and violative of custom and religious beliefs, as marriage is personal area and is governed by one's religious faith. Gay, lesbian marriages are considered unholy. People in India often believe that it is a part of Western culture and it is bad influence of foreign countries. However, it is not Western practice. The Rig Veda, one of the sacred texts in Hinduism, mentions Vikriti evan Prakriti, which means what is to be unnatural is also natural. Homosexuality is prohibited in Islam. Homosexual acts are forbidden in traditional Islamic jurisprudence and are liable to different punishments, including stoning and death penalty. Scholars have also illustrated many worldly consequences of homosexual acts to reinforce its prohibition, including breakup of family units, spread of disease, and going against natural laws Allah has ordained for His creation. Same-sex marriages are still not got recognition in India. Moreover than religious beliefs, people still fail to understand about homosexuality. People in India are liberalizing, but still there are lots of people who don't treat homosexual rights. People fear coming out of it because of harassment, sexual abuse, etc. Handing it over to Jishan.
Hello everyone, I would like to I would like to continue on the topic of our section for homosexual marriages from here. LGBT couples are harassed, sexually assaulted, molested, etc. We can see some news regarding homosexual marriages we have got from the newspaper articles, internet. We don't talk about this. Why? Because this is none of our business. Couldn't the scenario be little different if it would get legalized? There is no gay gene, there is no straight gene. Sexuality is just complex. Arguments. Homosexual marriages should not be legalized. The institution of marriage is traditional, the union between men and women. Institution of marriage involves homosexuality is a disease. Homosexual marriages are the outcome of today complex, individualized, post-modern, industrial, utilitarian society. Arguments. Homosexuality marriages should be legalized. There is no moral ground on why to support the tradition of marriage as a heterosexual institution. If it was so, then there would have been attempt to prohibit unions. There would have been attempt to prohibit unions between a sterile woman and a fertile man, or vice versa. Now, this legislation exists which requires a married couple to have a children. The American Psychiatrist Association has removed homosexuality from its list of mental illness in 1973, and the World Health Organization did the same in 1981. The instances of homosexuality can be seen even in ancient, medieval, and modern India. It's not a development of past modern society. Laws regarding and penalizing homosexual activity impede public health programs as it drive underground many people at risk. Thank you. Passing over to Lavanya.
Myself, Lavanya. In India, homosexuality has been a subject of debate from ancient times to contemporary times. Indian cinema has produced several productions revolving around the LGBTQ community in the past, but a majority of them have been niche, reaching a small segment of the population. But there is an attempt at bridging the gap between society and the queer community. The movies try to strike the right chord with reality, where the normalized homosexuality for parents and relatives. The film explores the ruthless discrimination in the society and what it means to be queer. How constant emphasis on labeling everything is not necessary. Bollywood is a close-knitted family, and some filmmakers never shied away from making LGBTQ community proud through their movies. There are various movies related to this social issue to create awareness among people, like अलीगढ़ शुभ मंगल ज़्यादा सावधान, एक लड़की को देखा तो ऐसा लगा, or the latest movie Badaido, which is released in 2022 and explains the problem of same-sex marriage in India and other problems related to it. Now let's have a look at some cases which is related to issue of same-sex marriage. Lawyer Arundhati Katju and Menaka Guruswamy, who are also a real-life couple, played a key role in the fight for decriminalizing Section 377. Now both the lawyers are rooting to legalize same-sex marriage in India. Menaka Guruswamy said that they are in support of the marriage project, that is a legal project that aims to make same-sex marriages legally right in India. As of now, at least 8 petitioners have filed PLS in the Delhi High Court regarding the legalization of same-sex marriage. However, a player in the Delhi High Court sought to make gay weddings illegal under the Hindu Marriages Act, as it claimed such acts amounted to intrusion into the religious rights of Hindus. Next, let's talk about adoption by same-sex couples. Adoption by same-sex couples is already allowed in countries like Spain, Belgium, etc. But in India, these rights are provided only to heterosexual couples. However, when it comes to same-sex relationship, they can enjoy the right of companionship through live-in relationship. They cannot get married, adopt, or have a child through surrogacy. Even after decriminalization of Section 377, the stigma around the same-sex love is so rigid that it usually takes over human rights. It has to be noted that both the acts governing adoption came into force at a time when homosexuality was criminalized. Since the position has legally changed now, there is a requirement for realization of the rights of community and treatment which is equal to that heterosexual section of the society. One of the biggest matchmaking platforms in India, that is Shadi.com, has set high hopes for 2022 by announcing its plan to launch services and products aimed at LGBTQ community. The company wants to get deeper into the matchmaking prospect by launching 2 more products in the upcoming year. The foundation of the Shadi.com, Anubhav Mittal, said that Business Insider that the company will be looking forward to entering the matchmaking arena for the LGBTQ community or people living in abroad. According to reports, the matchmaking platform aims to launch 2 new services next year. Passing it over to Myrna.
Analysis and interpretation. I'd like to emphasize the following points drawn from the survey conducted, which had 14 questions and 46 responses in total. To illustrate this, let's have a closer look at the pie chart on the following slideshows. The demographic questions, name, age, gender, and occupation, were acknowledged respectively, as the survey form was shared to people belonging to different gender, age groups, and occupation. We tried to cover every perspective to have an unbiased opinion. Next slide. The important thing about this chart is it has its own diversification when asked about their own identification. 54% identify as heterosexual, 6.5 as bisexual, 2.3 as asexual, and 15.7 prefer not to disclose. For the question, what is marriage in brief, 82% say it's an expression of love, 8.7 believe it's a legal agreement, 4.35 feel it's a devoted commitment or a religious ritual. Next slide. This brings us to the main question. Do you support same-sex marriage? 70% say yes, whereas 6.5 oppose. 23 are neutral. The no or maybe here could be due to a misunderstanding caused by lack of knowledge or just an opinion backed by misbelief. I would like to stress on the next question, which asks, how many people do you know who are attracted to the same sex? 43 do not and only 39% know, whereas 17 are not sure. So many people seem unaware that it might depend on the person, their relationship, and how they would react to them coming. 60.9 suppose a yes, 8.7 contradict, and 30.4 are fair-minded. Next slide. 71.7 people anticipate that same-sex couples should have equal marriage rights as the traditional right, and 44.3 fail to agree. 23.9 prefer not to answer. As a final question, do you think same-sex marriage will be legalized soon in India? 63 are hopeful to say yes, 4.4 oppose, and 32.6 are even-handed. So where do we go from here? That would be taken up by Shivansh. Thank you.
The survey has given us many opinions and perspectives from various age group, gender, and occupation. Many of them identified themselves as bisexual, asexual, and other sexualities. The identification is the first step to progress. Some choose to disclose and some choose to not. People are accepting and want legalization of same-sex marriage in India, but still there are few percent people who don't support and few who choose to stay quiet. The main problem is mindset and perception backed by stereotypes. We need to acknowledge the basic human rights. After analyzing an interpretation, the following things could be concluded. Same-sex marriage is still not legalized in India, but in the coming years it would get legalized. In India, no progressive change have been taken place as regards to social and legal recognition, and homosexuals remain victim of violence. The next slide includes bibliography of the project. Thank you for being patient and listening to us.